However, the truth is this whole business with all these messages is starting to be a damn nuisance, and I want it dealt with quickly. Welcome to Behind the Bottom Line. I'm James Schofield, the creator behind the stories that have kept you coming back to this podcast over the last 4 years. And now in Season 9, I'm bringing you an exciting new project, a thriller called 7 Continents. Join me to uncover the darker facets of diamonds, not just a girl's best friend, but the cause of greed, corruption and murder. Meet Kirill Solokov and Macey Church, investigators from Capstan Consultants, determined to unveil the truth behind a series of strange events that threaten the reputation of Sir Gilbert Villiers, the seemingly untouchable CEO of 7 Continents, a diamond mining giant. In episode 1, Macey and Kirill received their orders and set off from London to visit Sir Gilbert in his country house in Sussex to see what they can learn from him. On the car journey, Kirill revealed to Macey that he has a more than professional interest in this case. He and Sir Gilbert's wife, the former Russian ballerina Tatyana Kerkomenova, were previously engaged, and this will be their first meeting since the engagement was broken off. Ouch. Sounds like there could be some uncomfortable reunions taking place in this episode, so make sure you at least are sitting comfortably, and let us begin. Chapter 3. Tea on the Lawn. What? Macey braked sharply and pulled over to the side of the road after this bit of news. The farmer on the tractor that overtook them a moment later tapped the side of his head at Macey. "And when exactly were you planning to tell me?" "When it seemed to be the right time, which was 30 seconds ago." "What happened? Why did you break up? Did she dump you?" Kirill didn't say anything for a minute and started fiddling with a shopping receipt for some shoes which he had found on Macey's dashboard. "No," he said finally, "I dumped her. You see, she was only 20. She was just beginning to get offers to go and dance with other companies, and these long-distance relationships never work. The partner is away, you meet somebody else, start telling lies to each other, and finally you split. So I thought I would do it first before we spoilt everything with lies. And 5 years later, she met Villiers, gave up ballet, and married him." "Wow. But you never did meet anybody else, did you? That's why you didn't want to come." Kirill held up the receipt, which he had gradually torn into a long, thin strip of paper. "I hope you didn't want to take those shoes back. Come on, let's get it over with." Ashdown Hall was a Palladian-style building which architectural guides to southern England would tell you had been built by the neoclassical architect John Carr for Rear Admiral Sir Rodney Collingwood in 1803. It was reached by a long drive from the main road, which led you across an abandoned railway line and through meadows up to the main gardens that surrounded the house. This was set slightly above the green lawns which spread away in front of it, dotted here and there with beech trees which provided shade. Underneath one of them, a family group was having a tea party, and as Kirill and Macey got out of the car, They all got up and headed towards them. The smallest one fell on her nose and burst into tears, whereupon the largest stopped, picked her up and cuddled her. As Macey had predicted, they were reached first by a pack of enthusiastic dogs, though, as she later admitted, she had the scale wrong. 3 tiny furballs surrounded them and bounced up and down, yapping as loudly as they could. Macey grabbed Kirill's arm. "You tell anybody we were beaten up by 3 powder puffs, Kirill, and I'll never forgive you." Kirill laughed. "Diko, fidet!" he barked at them in Russian, and the Pomeranian suddenly stopped and looked at him in surprise. A small boy panted up to them. "Misha, Rudi, Irek, be good!" The dogs turned and scampered down the steps onto the lawn and went back to their mistress, who was now approaching with a small girl balanced on one hip. The girl had stopped crying and was sucking her thumb, her blonde curly hair and blue eyes contrasting with the straight black hair and nearly black eyes of her mother and brother. Macey stepped forward and shook the hand that was free. "Lady Villiers, how wonderful to meet you." No, I am Tanya, please. At heart I'm still a good socialist, you know. You must be Macey. Macey, this is Pavel, and this is Catherine." The little girl jumped down and went behind her mother's cream linen skirt and peeked around it. Tatyana put her hand forward. "Kirill, you're looking well. It's good to see you again." Kirill shook it solemnly and looked very serious. They looked at each other for a moment in silence, and Macey wished she was somewhere else. Then Tatyana burst out laughing, grabbed Kirill's ears and pulled his head down to her level and kissed him Russian style 3 times. "There, you idiot! I'm so pleased to see you. Stop looking tragic. Come and have some tea before Gilbert arrives." Chapter 4. Getting the Details. Tea was a great success. Tatyana was good at putting people at their ease, and very quickly Kirill relaxed. After a time, Pavel insisted Kirill should play football with him, which of course the Pomeranians decided to contribute to. They took their football very seriously, but couldn't decide whose side they were on. So all 3 had to chase the ball in every direction and try to trip up Kirill and Pavel at the same time. Macey and Tatyana were laughing so much at the sight of Kirill flat on his face, while Misha, Irek and Rudi jumped all over him, yapping frantically because he was hiding the ball, that they didn't hear the housekeeper's footsteps approaching them across the lawn. Madam, Sir Gilbert is here, and he'd like to see the guests in the library. Straight away, please." 10 minutes later, after Macey and Tatyana had brushed the dog hairs and grass off Kirill's clothes, the 2 of them were shown into the library by the housekeeper. Villiers was standing by the French windows, watching his wife, who was now playing football with Pavel, and not seeming to care very much about the grass stains she was getting on her cream linen skirt. He turned and shook their hands before sitting them down on a large leather sofa, while he collected a small bag from a briefcase next to his desk. He was not much taller than his ballerina wife, but his shoulders and flat stomach suggested there was a fitness trainer somewhere on the company payroll. He had the same blonde hair and blue eyes as his daughter, but had additionally a designer stubble that current fashion dictated would be appropriate with the expensive navy blue raw silk suit and Gucci loafers he was wearing. The gold chain that could be glimpsed through the open neck of his pale pink shirt was the finishing touch to an image which made him, as Men's Quarterly magazine had written the previous month in an extremely flattering interview article, a sartorial template for the successful global manager. Macey was slightly worried at how Kirill would react towards their host. Apart from the issue of Villiers being married to Tatyana, he was inclined to mock what he saw as instances of male vanity. He made fun of the tailored beards and moustaches of some of the junior consultants at Capstan, and on one occasion he even offered to teach one of them how to shave, as he clearly didn't have a father or elder brother at home to demonstrate. But today Kirill was on his best behaviour and sat patiently waiting for Villiers to sit down opposite them and begin. "Sorry to take you away from your tea. Normally I would have joined in. I don't get to play with the kids as much as I would like." Macey somehow doubted that anybody ever had to brush grass and dog hairs off Villiers. However, the truth is, this whole business with these messages is starting to be a damn nuisance, and I want it dealt with quickly. A telephone on the coffee table in front of Villiers rang, and he picked up the receiver. "Yes? Good. Send him in, please." A man of about 40, dressed entirely in black with a shaven head and a pale face dominated by the black frames of his glasses, appeared at the door. "I'd like the two of you to meet another guest this evening, Dr. Roy Marsden, European head of Eco Warriors, and also my best friend when I was at university. Roy, this is Macey Church and Kirill Solokov from Capstan Consultants." Marsden pressed his hands together, Buddhist style, and bowed his shiny forehead towards them. "Take a seat, Roy. You're just in time. Now, I imagine your boss has given you two most of the background details, and I want to bring you up to speed with current developments. Firstly, the frequency of this message appearing has now increased to about once a week. Apart from the techies trying to put ever more and more complicated procedures into place, none of which work, they just make the software companies richer, I have to have a team of 5 people reading through the company site every day looking for it." "Can't you just sweep it automatically and look for keyword patterns?" asked Kirill. Villiers sighed. "Software programs can't pick them up, as if they were only visible to the human eye and not to software. Anyway, the second development is that other things have started appearing in the post at my office. I brought them along." Villiers opened the small bag he had taken from his briefcase and spread the contents over the glass surface of the table. "This bottle has got hydrochloric acid in it. This is a theatre programme from a performance of Swan Lake that my wife danced in Dosk about 8 years ago." "Sorry, where did you say?" interrupted Macey. "Dosk. It's the capital of Kazakhstan in the Caucasus, former Soviet Republic. Tanya was born there, but went to the Vaganova Ballet School in St. Petersburg when she was about 11. Then there's this plastic bag with some kimberlitic soil in it." "Kimberlitic?" asked Kirill. "Is what we geologists are looking for when we're searching for diamonds. It's a particular kind of volcanic rock, which sometimes also contains diamonds. Sometimes is the key word, though. There are lots of sites with kimberlitic soil around the world, but most of them have very few diamonds, if any at all. For a company, opening a mine is always a huge risk. You never know for how long a seam will continue to turn up diamonds. So you could make an enormous capital investment in equipment for a site which only has a few worthwhile stones to find. Make too many mistakes like that and you go out of business." Anyway, and then finally there's this magazine article which appeared today about some desert nomads. Each time one of these items appears, it's accompanied by a white card printed with those words, my name is Ekaterina, blah blah blah. Can you see any connection between these items, Sir Gilbert? Asked Macey, as she held up the small bottle of acid and the theatre programme. No, and I leave that to you, but you need to work fast. There are things going on which will have an enormous influence, not just on me and 7 continents, but on the whole world and the sustainable exploitation of natural resources. Alright, I think we should show them. Marsden, who had sat impassively until now, went over to a picture on the wall. It was a 19th century photograph of the Bank of England, and moved it to one side. Behind it was a small safe. Villiers joined Marsden, typed a number into the electronic keypad, then as the door slid back, took out a small velvet box. He put it on the table and then opened it. As he did so, the rays from the evening sun that shone through the French windows seemed to explode and scatter into little blades of coloured light all over the walls. For nestling on a small black cushion inside the box was an enormous diamond. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, tell your friends about it, and please rate the story on Apple or Spotify, or better still, write a review on my website. That is www.behindthebottomline.com. Next week in episode 3, Macey and Kirill find out about the source of the diamond in Sir Gilbert's safe, and also what is really worrying him and his good friend Roy Marsden, the head of the environmental organisation Eco Warriors. If you'd like to buy the book or the ebook version of 7 Continents, you can do so by visiting my bookshop on my website www.behindthebottomline.com. There you can also find Peril in Venice, a thriller full of drugs, murder and adventure set, of course, in Venice. And there is also a romantic comedy, Double Trouble. Nicholas and Timothy Aldridge, identical twins with very different lifestyles, change places and cause huge amounts of trouble before finding fortune and true love. So until next week, take care and goodbye.